Hi, I'm Greg Tom, and welcome to the Community Advocate Podcast. Today we're catching up with Jessica Mendoza-Roth, co-founder of WaitMate, an initiative designed to encourage kids to be kids by enjoying a mobile phone-free childhood. Welcome, Jessica.
Thanks for having me.
No worries. Thanks for taking the time. Firstly, what exactly is WaitMate?
Thanks so much. So WaitMate is a not-for-profit movement in Australia to empower parents to delay giving their child a smartphone for longer. So it's to give kids their childhoods back and to enable them to have a play-based childhood without being addicted to a screen. So the way it works is WaitMate encourages parents to take a pledge. And when more than 10 families in the 1-year group at a school have taken the pledge unlocks and those families are connected. And so the pressure for parents to then give their kids a smartphone is dramatically reduced because they can say to their child, you're not the only one without a smartphone, but these are the names of all of your friends who don't have a smartphone until at least high school. Parents can choose to pledge to year 7, 8, 9, or 10. And it's not legally binding, but it's a statement of commitment. And it reduces the pressure on a parent to give a child a smartphone because there's a cohort of kids in their year at their school whose parents have also pledged to delay giving their child a smartphone.
And that's all, as you've just laid out, that's a significant factor, that parental pressure, like they say, the kids say, but my friends have got them, when they're trying to manage this kind of thing with young kids.
That's exactly right. We think that we're really strong as parents and we can hold out, but the reality is it's really hard. Kids are very persuasive and we want them to have vibrant social lives. And if all of their friends are on smartphones, then they feel like they're the ones missing out. And they're missing out on arrangements and they're missing out on that experience. And so if we can change the Australian culture, if we can change what a significant number of parents are doing, then we can actually make sure that we can stand strong as a community together and give kids the play-based childhood that they deserve.
The initiative come about? What was the journey? How long has it been up and running, and how did it kick off?
Yeah, great question. So late 2 years ago now, I can't quite believe it, that we're now in 2025. But in 2023, I went to the US for my Harvard reunion, and I caught up with some friends in Silicon Valley who told me about an initiative called Wait Till the 8th in the US. Wait to give your child a smartphone until the end of 8th grade, which is the end of middle school in the US. High school begins in year 9. And this movement now has over 100,000 parents across the US who've signed. It's been championed by a number of Silicon Valley tech execs who don't want their own children to have access to the technology that they are developing. And that was really powerful for me, that many Silicon Valley tech execs don't want their own kids to be on smartphones until their brains are more fully developed. And so I thought, how about we bring this model to Australia? And Wait Till the 8th didn't have the resources to open it up to Australia, but they said, please take whatever you can from our model, feel free to use our resources and adapt them to the Australian context. And so that's why we came up with WaitMate, a distinctively Australian name, WaitMate. Yes. And brought together a group of like-minded parents, and we formed a founding committee. There's 5 of us, co-founders, with varying skills and talents across tech, marketing, branding, partnerships, legals, and we can together make a difference on this issue and start an Australian social movement to empower parents to delay giving their kid a smartphone for longer.
It's obviously a big issue that is in a lot of parents' minds. Like, the Albanese government's been a lot of publicity about the social media ban and why that's deemed to be necessary. But why is WaitMate needed, like in the form that it is? You've explained the rationale and what it does, but do you think there was a gap there to try and address this problem, specifically?
Yes, I think that's right. WaitMate does predate the social media ban, and obviously the social media ban is yet to be fully enforced. But it helped make the case that parents wanted government to step in with some regulation. So there is a slight difference in that the social media ban is just for social media until 16, not for the actual device, the smartphone.
Yeah.
And we are trying to encourage parents to not give their child a smartphone because that's the gateway to social media, but it's also an addictive screen. It also has gaming. It also, it's just not necessary for children to have smartphone with connection to the internet and everything that the internet presents when they're so young. So we encourage parents to give their child what's called a dumb phone or a simple phone to stay in contact. And it's fine for kids to be able to call their parents in an emergency, but without this large screen that's addictive with this constant pull away from the real world. So that's the gap, is the actual focus on the screen. And I think the social media ban is wonderful because it gives parents a further reason to say, not only do none of your friends have a smartphone, but actually the law says you can't be on social media until you're 16. And that's great. It's the principle of parents being able to say it's against the law to be on social media. So we've been strong supporters of the government's new legislation. I spoke at the Sydney Social Media Summit and at the Adelaide Social Media Summit. And it's a real privilege to represent the voices of Australian parents who want to help their kids be kids for longer.
Has WaitMate been? Are you able to monitor that, or how can you analyse the? It's been a couple of years, obviously, but that's a long enough time to assess how well it's doing. Are you happy with where it's at?
Yeah, it actually hasn't been a couple of years since we launched. It was in development for a long time because since I went to the US in 2023, but we actually only launched in July 2024. So it's really only been 6 months. It hasn't been very long since we've been in market, and we've been thrilled with the response from Australian parents. We have really tapped into a need. There's been parents who've just been looking for something that helps them be part of a community and not just stand alone, but stand together. So yes, we've had interest from across Australia, from Western Australia through to Victoria, even in regional Victoria. We've had some real champions, and obviously many of us are based in Sydney. So we've had great uptake in Sydney. We still have a number of schools where just 1 or 2 parents have signed the pledge. So we're really excited for those, now that school is back, for those parents to try and share WaitMate in amongst their school communities. We're also really encouraged by the number of schools that are interested in rolling out school policies to support this. So there are a number of schools that for the 2025 year have said that there are no smartphones allowed in primary school, bell to bell. So no smartphones allowed on campus. And that's really exciting that we're seeing school policy change. And we're seeing some schools do amazing things like Pymble Ladies College actually saying to parents, don't give your child a smartphone. We're going to support you on this journey, and issue them with a phone that can then unlock as appropriate as they age. So that's also been really encouraging, the shift in school policy and the number of schools that are taking this issue really seriously.
I was just about to ask too, as you just said, with kids just going back to school, this is the perfect time to be having these conversations and talking about this, through the kind of wait mate model where parents can talk to each other like it's top of mind because we've just gone back to school.
Yeah, that's exactly right. We did do a bit of a push before the end of last year because we were really hoping that many parents would not give their kids a smartphone as a Christmas present.
Yeah.
And hopefully, if they didn't, then they can now hold out for longer. It's really, so yes, really encouraging parents to hold out as long as possible. And not now we're back to school. There are plenty of other alternatives to smartphones that are safer and smarter choices for kids. And we encourage parents to buy those ones instead of taking out the old smartphone from the drawer. It's often the easiest option because many parents have an old smartphone in a drawer and they're like, oh, I'll just give you this. But please think twice before you do that. Much better to go out and buy an alternative that doesn't have all that capability.
You're obviously a busy woman because you're also founder and CEO of the Social Impact Hub. Tell us a little bit about their work.
I am busy, and I'm also a mother of 3 children, which makes the WaitMate project very personal for me.
I bet.
But the Social Impact Hub mobilises people, organisations, and capital for good. So we do advisory work in all sorts of areas like impact measurement, strategy, governance. We also run education programs, public programs like the Social Impact Fellowship that anyone can enroll in who wants to learn more about different areas of social impact, advance their career, invest in their professional development. So that's like public programs like the Social Impact Fellowship, open for applications, or private programming. We do lots of bespoke programming for corporates, for for-purpose organisations, to really empower people to realise their full potential. And then we mobilise capital for impact as well. And I have education in my bones. I've taught for a very long time, including social movements. And one of the things that helps to create a social movement is people power, coupled with government regulation as well. So that's been really interesting to bring some of my knowledge about creating social change, and how to build a social movement into establishing WaitMate.
Well, and I sincerely mean thanks for finding the time to talk to me amongst all that, because there's clearly more than enough to keep you busy, as you said, on the personal home front with family and everything, and little ones going to the kinder and school. So I do appreciate you taking some time out of your very busy day to have a chat with me. But good luck with WaitMate, which is obviously a great initiative to help parents encourage responsible smartphone use for their kids, and very much, a product of the times. It's good to see these things being directly addressed in an innovative way.
Thank you for the invitation to the podcast, and really encourage your listeners to check it out, waitmate.org.au, and take the pledge and share it. Share it. You're probably on a WhatsApp group with fellow parents. Share it online. Share it with your principal, and try and change the culture so that Australian kids can be kids for longer. Thanks for having me, Greg.
No worries. Thanks again, Jess. Join us again next time on the Community Advocate podcast.